It's week 4 of my tech blockade. So far I've blocked Amazon, Facebook, and Google. This week is Microsoft, which honestly I think it's going to be a breeze.
I kind of have to admit, I almost left Microsoft out of my blocking experiment. They're a huge company, but I'm just not reliant on their services like I am with the other companies. And Microsoft's days as a tech supervillain are pretty much a thing of the past, since the 1990s when attorneys general from 20 states and the US Department of Justice assembled like Voltron to take the tech company down for violating antitrust law.
Last August, Microsoft threatened to pull its hosting services from Gab over anti-Semitic content. And then in November, Microsoft surpassed Apple as the most valuable company in the world, briefly.
And that made me realize that Microsoft is indeed a giant, deserving of inclusion in my experiment. I couldn't think offhand of any Microsoft services I actually use. I last had an Outlook account for corporate email 5 years ago. Now I'm all Gmail. I use Google Docs and spreadsheets instead of Word and Excel. And I don't have an Xbox.
Oh no!
Microsoft also owns LinkedIn, which is admittedly an invaluable reporting tool, but I figured I could live without it for a week or two. I plan to take Microsoft out of my life the same way I'd remove the tech giants that preceded it, by sending my traffic through a VPN that blocks all IP addresses controlled by the Redmond giant. Just a couple of hours into the week, I ran into my first hiccup. I was scheduled to talk to some engineering students via Skype, which Microsoft owns. I also use Skype for weekly catch-ups with Dhruv, the technologist who built my blocker for this experiment. Thankfully, alternatives like Zoom and Appear.in exist.
Thanks for having me here to talk to you guys.
My next unexpected encounter with Microsoft happened on the second day of the block, when I got into my long-term rental car, a 2015 Ford Fusion, and looked down to see the company's four-square logo.
Sync, powered by Microsoft.
I quickly DuckDuckGo'd to figure out what exactly Sync was, and discovered that it's part of the entertainment and navigation system. Apparently, this car was one of the last models to have Sync powered by Microsoft.
There may have been Microsoft things I was using without realizing.
I was getting a Metro card.
And there was an error message up on one of them, and I recognized it as a Windows error message.
I'd probably been using that for the whole week. And then
I asked the lady who I bought my coffee from if the POS system she rung me up on was Microsoft or was Windows, and she was like, yeah, this is Windows. Every time I turn it on, there's a big Windows logo.
So unless there's a little iPad there that you're paying with, their point of service machine is probably Microsoft. I wasn't able to block it because they're not working for the most part directly with me.
Yeah, it's not like choices that you could individually make that would stop Microsoft from getting your data. It's like just by virtue of being in a city, you're using, I don't know, walking around. you're encompassed into their software.
I discovered that part of the reason Microsoft is still such a valuable company is because it mainly supplies technology to businesses. And Microsoft with Azure is the second largest provider of cloud services after Amazon's AWS. The ban itself didn't take much of a toll on my daily life, but my devices did make a fair amount of attempts to contact Microsoft servers, whether directly, as when I tried to check the junk email account I keep on Hotmail for shopping, or indirectly, when a site I wanted was hosted on Azure. Altogether, my devices tried to talk to Microsoft servers 15,000 times, or as often as they tried to talk to Facebook when I was blocking that tech giant. I wonder if this is the kind of company Microsoft was fated to become, regardless of the antitrust investigation in the 90s. Or maybe, if the government hadn't intervened back then, we'd all be using micromail and surfing microbook and posting our photos to microgram and binging our latest health concern. Microsoft was the most popular operating system by far 30 years ago. And the government worried it was going to dominate the newly emerging internet as well, crushing would-be competitors before their businesses could develop. The test case was Netscape, which was selling a popular internet browser called Navigator for $50. Microsoft undercut it by offering Internet Explorer for free and insisting computer makers include it along with Microsoft's operating system. Originally, the government wanted to break Microsoft up, but it settled for Microsoft's promise to not exclude competitors from new computers. Netscape eventually made Navigator free as well, laying the groundwork for an internet where almost everything is free and monetized instead via our attention and our data. Microsoft itself was a beneficiary of an antitrust against IBM years earlier. The concessions it made in the 90s opened the door for the rise of new companies. So here's the big question. If I can survive today without Microsoft because of the government's antitrust crackdown in the 90s, what should the government do today about the tech behemoths I can't live without? Next time, Apple.